the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Wow. Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
Prepare yourself.
Okay, let's go. From a studio deep in the heart of Texas.
You're not going to believe the garbage that fell out of his mouth.
The voice of the working man.
This clown had the audacity to say that.
It's the Gavin Mitchell Show.
It's not a race issue. It's a First Amendment issue, and we all just need to understand it.
And now, here's your host, Gavin Mitchell.
Boy, I sure do love election time, ladies and gentlemen. There is no shortage of headlines to talk about, and unfortunately, we are not going to be able to get to all of it today. That's just the nature of the beast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gavin Mitchell Show. I am Gavin Mitchell. A little housekeeping. We took yesterday off. I told you there's some exciting news coming, and unfortunately, that needed the entire day's worth of focus from me, and we weren't able to get a show out yesterday. So I'm going to do my best to make it up to you. I'm going to give you a sincere apology and promise that this is going to be one of the better shows yet. That's the best I can do, but I promise you, missing yesterday's show is going to be well worth it in the long run. I just need you to trust me on that. With all of that said, we're going to talk a little bit about the con man in chief visiting the mosque. What does it mean? And I think I have some surprising comments to you because on the surface, I agree a lot of what he had to say. But as you well know, there's always a hidden motivation. We're going to get to that in segment 2. For the here and now, let's talk Cruz versus Carson. This seems to be a little deviation from what we're used to because here recently it's been nothing but Trump versus Cruz. Trump attacking Cruz, left, right, in between, anything he can get a hold of, he's throwing it at Cruz. He's that guy in the boxing match that isn't a talented boxer, but he's got the want to, he's got the drive, and he's cocky enough to think he's going to win. So he's just in there throwing windmills. Ted Cruz is a little more calculated with his punches, and that's what we're used to. We're used to the whole Cruz versus Trump deal. And Trump has come out, and he is terribly upset that he lost Iowa. He feels that it was stolen from him, that Cruz is a shady guy, and he's kind of piggybacked on this whole conflict between Trump or between Cruz and Carson, rather, Trump has. I'm just going to call it like I see it. I think Trump would be a great leader for this country. I think he would get things done. And I think he would be light years better than what we have now. But there's always a but. Man, he is acting like a little toddler. I mean, if he doesn't get his way, he throws a temper tantrum. He's not afraid to call names. He's not afraid to go below the belt. He's juvenile in a lot of what he does. He's a brilliant, magnificent businessman and incredibly intelligent, but he behaves like a juvenile. And I'm just going to be honest. I love some of his ideas. I love the fresh perspective he brings, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But I'm getting real tired of him throwing fits and him calling names. And when he doesn't win, well, it had to be rigged. It had to be stolen. It had to be all these things. Why can't we just be a man and stand up and say, hey, we lost that one. You know what? I didn't go to the debate. That might have been a mistake. I didn't put a lot of time in Iowa. That might have been a mistake. Let's make some adjustments. We're in this for the long haul, and let's move on. But that's not what this guy does. He's not a man about losing, and that bothers me, and it worries me some because it seems like winning is all that matters to him. And that's refreshing in a time where it seems like this administration wants nothing but to lose. And it's what people want. We want to make America great again. It's a great slogan. We want that superior feeling. We want to lead the world. We want to be the big dog on the block with the baddest military around. That's what we want. That's who we are. But man, all of that at this guy's disposal, if he really is emotionally this loose, I'm worried about it. But he's not in the news right now, which is ironic. It's Cruz versus Carson, and I'm sure you've heard about it. The Carson campaign has accused Ted Cruz of sending out an email to all its representatives, sending out a tweet, and that's Steve King. He's the national co-chair for Cruz's campaign, did send out a tweet. Carson looks like he's out. Iowans need to know before they vote. Most will go to Cruz, I hope. Right? That's Steve King. Now, on the surface, standalone, that is inexcusable. If you, as Steve King, the national co-chair of Cruz's campaign, knows that that's inaccurate, that is inexcusable. And if you couple it with this flyer, this voting score that Cruz sent out, this becomes a dirty campaign real quick. You only get so many mistakes, right? But that's not it. And CNN would love for you to believe that's it. Once Carson got the facts, he began to say, okay. What I want to do today is I want to play for you the entire clip, and it's 1:49 from CNN. This is on election night, and here's the background. Chris Moody, one of the CNN guys, tweets out at 6:41. Carson will likely speak at his victory party in Iowa before caucus results are in so he can catch a flight. 6:43. Carson won't go to New Hampshire or South Carolina, but instead home to Florida for some R&R. He'll be in D.C. Thursday for prayer breakfast. Okay? Those are the tweets. Here is what CNN reported on election night.
Well, CNN has learned some news about the man who, at least according to polls, is in fourth place here in Iowa. Now, Dana, a week from tomorrow, we're all going to be doing this again for the New Hampshire primary. So almost every single candidate is going to be going directly from here to New Hampshire to campaign, except for the man in fourth place, who a few months ago was in first place here, Dr. Ben Carson. What have we learned?
That's right. We should say that our Chris Moody is breaking this news that Ben Carson is going to go back to Florida, to his home, regardless of how he does tonight here in Iowa. He's going to go there for several days, and then afterwards, he's not going to go to South Carolina. He's not going to go to New Hampshire. He's going to come to Washington, D.C., and he's going to do that because the National Prayer Breakfast is on Thursday, and people who have been following Ben Carson's career know that that's really where he got himself on the political map, attending that prayer breakfast and really giving it to President Obama at the time, and he became kind of a hero among conservatives, among evangelicals especially.
But it's very unusual.
Very unusual.
To be announcing that you're going home to rest for a few days, not going on to the next site. Plus, he's already announced that he's going to be coming out and speaking at 9:15 local, 10:15 Eastern, no matter whether or not we know the results, because he wants to get home and get ahead of the storm.
Look, if you want to be president of the United States, you don't go home to Florida. I mean, that's just bottom line. That's the end of the story. If you want to signal to your supporters that you want it, that you're hungry for it, that you want them to get out and campaign, you got to be out there doing it too. And he's not doing it. It's very unusual.
Very unusual news that CNN has just learned. CNN's Chris Moody breaking the story. Wolf, back to you in Washington.
Very significant news indeed, guys. Thanks very much.
All right, so I left the intro and the outro of that clip to prove to you it was it in its entirety. And CNN says point blank, if you want to be president of the United States, you do not go home to Florida right now. That's what CNN has to say. So based on what Chris Moody is tweeting and what CNN has to say, all of a sudden Steve King's comments aren't that outrageous, are they? They're just regurgitating what they're hearing from a major news outlet. That's it. And the Carson camp forwarded this. They pushed it, as any camp would have had they gotten this news on the night of the caucus, especially when your campaign is riding the evangelical wave. You need those evangelical votes, and your only competition in that arena for that demographic is Ben Carson. And you get this news, you absolutely scream it from the rooftops. Here's the mistake. Carson didn't leave. And so Ted Cruz comes out. Carson learns of this. He's very displeased. And so Cruz comes out and apologizes. Cruz says, look, we were just repeating what we heard from CNN. That is a fact. Did we vet it? No. Should we have? Absolutely. Here's where our mistake lands. When we learned that wasn't true, we should have corrected it. And for that, I apologize. I have the utmost respect for Ben Carson, and I'm sorry for that. And that's an upstanding thing to do in the middle of an election, is to apologize, because if you remember the flyers he sent out, he wouldn't apologize for that. I think he should, right? I'm a big Ted Cruz fan, but I think he should have apologized for that, but he wouldn't. He did apologize for this, and I think that shows his respect for Ben Carson. Here is Carson's response to Cruz's apology. Ron, cut 2, please.
Dr. Carson, thanks for joining us. Are you satisfied with Ted Cruz's apology?
Well, as a Christian, I will accept an apology, but it doesn't correct the problem. This is a cultural issue. When people in your campaign feel that it's okay to distort the issues to their political advantage and to tell absolute lies. And the question really is, will there be any consequences for that? Or are we looking at the same kind of thing that we saw with the IRS scandal? Slap on the hand and nobody loses their job. I just think there needs to be some type of responsibility. Because if we don't assign us responsibility and consequences, what keeps this from continuing to happen?
So would you like somebody from the Cruz campaign to be fired, or have Steve King even step down as co-chair? What do you want?
I think whoever is responsible for blatant lying should be dismissed. Absolutely.
Now,
unless that kind of behavior is acceptable in your campaign culture.
Now, to be candid, to talk about your decision to go to Florida, it is rather unusual, and I realize you're an outsider candidate, but it is rather unusual that you're not in New Hampshire right now. We are in the thick of the campaign. Your explanation that you need some fresh clothes is something that maybe your rivals, maybe other journalists on the campaign trail don't understand.
And they continue with that tangent thought. But as you can see, Carson's kind of, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that apology. He feels it's shady. He feels it's no good. But he's come out since then to realize that, hey, this was a mistake. Let's be clear about what's happened here, folks. Ted Cruz is in the middle of the fight of his life up to this point. He has a legitimate shot to be president of the United States. He is fighting a guy with unlimited funds, effectively, a guy that knows no tact, knows no political etiquette, and Ted Cruz is pulling out all the stops. He believes in what he believes, and he's going to do what he needs to do to get his message across and, in his opinion, save the country. I respect that. I love that, because that's what we need from a leader right now after this maniac Obama has done his thing. But it shows the level of respect he has for Ben Carson to apologize. Here's where I'm at. Carson is a non-factor at this point. This isn't a testimony to or an indictment on his character, on his intelligence, on his faith. I think he's a wonderful man. But he's a non-factor in this race. And he's sticking around, and I don't understand why. We saw, Huckabee, Santorum, Rand Paul all cash in their chips. Carson needs to follow. He just simply needs to follow. And so with that said, I thought I would break it down. You needed the full understanding. And I'm going to let the cat out of the bag right here, folks. We're actually recording live today. So if we have some missteps, stick with me. I'm doing my best to work the controls as we move forward. But on the other side of the break, we are going to get into your president, President Barack Obama, visiting a mosque. And surprisingly enough, I agree a lot with what he had to say. Not all of it, just some of it, and we'll get into it on the other side of the break. It's the Gavin Mitchell Show.
Today's episode of the Gavin Mitchell Show is brought to you by Pinnacle Voice Studios and Sound Productions. Find us on the web at pinnaclevoice.com. We'll be back in a moment.
Hey, everybody, it's Chris Salcedo from the Blaze Radio Network. You are listening to The Gavin Mitchell Show.
All right, as promised, some Barack Obama going to the mosque. Is anybody surprised at this? I'm surprised it's not a 5-time-a-day event for our president, Barack Obama. That's just my 2 cents. So Barack Obama goes to the Islamic Society of Baltimore, and I am going to get way deep into this, but I think I'm going to surprise some people on it. Before we do, I want to remind you, you can find us on the web, www.thegavinmitchellshow.com. I've said it for all week now. We've got a new site, and man, am I proud of it. Ron and his guys did a fantastic job. A new feature, the Gavin Mitchell Experience. I would highly encourage you, please stop by, sign up for the experience. It's completely free, and it allows you access to past shows. It allows you access to my blog, and it allows you access to the video cast, which is coming very, very soon. It's just going to be the shows on video, so you can see me, we can interact. It's going to be a great thing. Just brings a new element to the show. So please sign up for that. If you want to speak with me, if you want to comment on the show, give me suggestions, ideas, it's Gavin at thegavinmitchellshow.com. Would love to hear from you. I do my best to answer all of those directly. We are on Twitter at The GM Show, Facebook, facebook.com/The Gavin Mitchell Show. You can subscribe to the podcast via iTunes. Just search The Gavin Mitchell Show and subscribe if you are an Apple user. We are on TuneIn and Spreaker as well, and we're still pushing for that 100 followers, guys. So please log on to Spreaker, search The Gavin Mitchell Show, and give us a follow if you wouldn't mind. Getting into iHeart is a huge deal for a podcaster, and so we would greatly appreciate it if you were able to do that. Barack Obama goes to the Islamic Society of Baltimore, and this is a mosque that has been plagued with ties to terrorism, ties to promoting jihad and violence. This is a bad place, according to their reputation. This is not the place you want to go if you are president of the United States and your dedication and loyalty to American people and their safety is in question. Because make no mistake about it, that's what's on the table right now. People do not believe that this president is fully invested and fully engaged at keeping this country and its citizens safe. They feel like this president is more concerned about being liked by the rest of the world, more concerned about forming a global community and a global economy, and he's willing to sacrifice the American way of life, the American culture, and American safety to do it. That's how we feel. That's how I feel, and that's how many others feel. And so, in his quest to make Muslim Americans feel safe, he decided he was going to visit a mosque. And this is the first visit since George H.W. Bush, 43, attended a mosque just after 9/11. And in the words of Barack Obama, let me be clear. Let me be clear about this. I am the Southern Baptist man. I am a Christian through and through. And my faith helps shape my views. And I believe there is one way and one way only to get to heaven, because Jesus Christ is the truth, the way, and the life. It's that simple. That's my beliefs. But in America, Our founding fathers, and I'm going to tie this back to Barack Obama directly. Our founding fathers wanted people to be able to worship the living God in the way they saw fit, not the king's way, not the government's way. And that's what was going on in England. The king was forcing people to worship the living God in his way. And so that was part of the flight to the colonies, was to escape this religious persecution. It is such that allowance given to us by the First Amendment is so elastic that not only do you get to worship the living God your way, if you want to worship any God, you're allowed to, but you're allowed to peacefully. Okay? And so I agree that a Muslim American, a person of the Islamic faith, has every right to enjoy this country and to worship their God however they see fit. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all. I believe this is a Christian country, but Christianity is not violent. We're supposed to love the sinner, hate the sin. And we're supposed to wrap these people up in our arms and love them. And our life is supposed to reflect something so great and so good that they want to turn away from that is not God. And they want that relationship with God. That's how it's supposed to work. And so to run these people out and persecute them for their faith is absolutely wrong. But let's be clear. The Islamic faith is a faith of violence. It promotes killing infidels. It promotes keeping women as second-rate citizens. And any derivation of that is a morphing of the Islamic faith, because that is what the Quran teaches. And so for a president to stand up there and say, well, you know, being a Muslim in the Islamic faith, it's a religion of peace. Garbage it is. Now, the Muslims here in the United States may have transitioned that and may have morphed and warped the Islamic faith to be peaceful. That's possible. They may be the radical believers when it comes to Islam. And by radical, I don't mean violent. By radical, I mean deviating from what the Quran teaches. They may be those guys. And I'm okay with it. I don't care if you worship what was that one lady? She went and got her driver's license picture made with a spaghetti strainer on her head to make a point. She said, that's my religion. I worship noodles or pots and pans or something. Some of you may know what I'm talking about. I don't care if you worship the spaghetti strainer. I don't care. I hope that my life exemplifies something so great that you've got to know what it is. And when you ask or the moment comes, I'm going to tell you it's because of Jesus Christ. But having these people isn't the problem. Having the women walk around in their hijab is not the problem. Having the guy with the beards, that's not the problem. The problem is the violence that underlays this situation. The problem is taking our country, our Judeo-Christian country, and compromising its culture and its norms and its practices. Because when these people come in from other countries, and that's exactly what this president's doing, he's trying to make everybody calm down about Islam so that he can open the floodgates and bring more in. That's what this is about. This isn't about making Americans feel good. This isn't about Islamic Americans feeling safe. That's not what this is about at all. Make no mistake about it. This is another one of those smoke screens by this president. He is trying to temper fears and temper concerns, and legitimate concerns and fears, mind you, because embedded in the very root of this religion, in the Quran, in their playbook, in what is equivalent to their Bible, it promotes killing anybody that is not of their faith and refuses to become a member of their faith. That's who they are. And so ISIS is not radical to Islam. ISIS is a literal interpretation of the Quran. These peaceful Muslims are the radicals. Those that don't believe in the Sharia law, those are the radicals. And so this whole idea to get out there in the mosque and say, oh, well, we've got to be more tolerant. This is inexcusable to persecute American Muslims. He's absolutely right. But it's also equally unacceptable to not recognize the threat that Islam brings with it when we open up the floodgates. This very mosque, the former leader, condoned suicide bombers. He would stand on his little pulpit and scream to them, it is acceptable to be a suicide bomber to further the cause. And for at least the last 18 years, this very mosque has had ties to radical groups. And so if I were president of the United States and my mission was to mend bridges, don't you think you could pick a better mosque? Don't you think you could pick a mosque that's not under FBI surveillance? You have Air Force One fueled up and ready to go anywhere in the world anytime you want to. Don't give me the story, well, this is the closest one. You can go anywhere. The oldest existing mosque in the United States is in Iowa, I believe. Why not go there? Why not go to the oldest one we have? If it's not tied to these violent extremist jihadists. I don't know. Moreover, here's the best part of all of this. It's that the mosque here, the current leader, and I can't pronounce these names, folks. I'm sorry. I'm not that guy. My tongue doesn't work that way. I speak Texan, a little bit of the Espanol, and that's it. And so to get some of these foreign words or names out, it's a feat that I'm not going to achieve, so I apologize in advance. But this current leader actually has a YouTube video out from a conference not too long ago where he goes on and on about homosexuality being absolutely unacceptable. And as a Christian, I believe that. I believe that homosexuality is a sin, but all sins created equal, and the little white lie I tell is no better than that. So I'm not judging. I'm not judging at all. But what I am saying is if you're the president and you're all about promoting this equal Mecca to where everybody's welcome and everybody prospers and everybody shares and that's your goal and that's your party's platform, how is it that you can get the Muslims and bring them in, because they're an outcast group according to Barack Obama, and you can make them feel welcome, and you can put your arms around the homosexuals by making sure that gay marriage gets passed and welcome them? Here's what happens when you get too many balls in the air, ladies and gentlemen, and that's exactly what this president's doing. Eventually, there's going to be too many to juggle. Eventually, the Muslims that are included and they feel good about where they're at are going to start enforcing their beliefs on others. And those that believe in the gay rights are going to do the same thing. And there's going to be a clash among these minority groups. And if we are not careful, if we begin to try to include everybody and their way of life and their cultures, and we do it at the expense of our cultures, our border, our language, our way of life, our norms, we're going to end up not with one country, but with little factions of a country all within the same borders of America. And it's going to go bad real fast. And if you don't believe me, simply look at this Black Lives Matter group. They feel that these municipalities and the police departments are of one belief and of one culture, and they're of another. And they're going to protest because they feel like they should be heard. That type of clash, the same thing in Oregon. These people feel like they've been disrespected and stepped on by the federal government, and so they're going to step up and they're going to impose their way. This is what happens when we check who we are and we just have a if it feels good, do it mentality. That's what happens. And it's a bad place for this country to go, I'm telling you now. And so with all that said, the president going to the mosque, I have no problem with that. It's probably where he belongs. But going to a mosque where they stick women on the back row, they promote suicide bombers, they have ties to these factions, I'm not a fan of that at all. So hats off to you, Barack Obama. All you've done is upset the country once again. And I'm baffled by this. I'm baffled at how this guy can get it so wrong so often. It's fascinating to me. But if we're not careful, we're going to get a continuation with Hillary Clinton, the felon, or we're going to get a complete socialist in Bernie Sanders. And that's why the right needs to come together and quit being so divisive. I do know that the con man in chief came out with job numbers today, and he did what he does. He lied. He threw the smoke screen up, and how do I know he lied? Well, one, I've dug into the numbers, but two, the Democratic nominees for the president of the United States got on stage last night in the debate and argued the exact opposite of what he had to say. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we're not going to be able to touch it. And the reason I chose to table this topic is because my friend Matlock did such an outstanding job on his show today. I'm going to leave it to him. You can find it at thematlockshow.com. That is my plug for my good friend. And if you want a good conservative viewpoint on the garbage that's spewed out of the con man in chief's mouth about the job numbers, lock into his show, pun intended. Lock into his show and listen to what's going on because he did an outstanding job. As for us, I guess Marco Rubio did something to Breitbart because they are some kind of furious. I want to get into Johnny Manziel because we're not all politics all the time. We're current events also. This is the Gavin Mitchell Show. I'm Gavin Mitchell. Thank you so much for listening to us. As we approach the big game, I don't know what your plans are, but I hope that you're safe out there. I hope you use your head. And I hope that you don't put yourself in a position that you're going to regret later. As we talk about way too many times, the outcome in some of these situations is horrible, but all of it could have been prevented, even when it wasn't their fault, if they just would have used their head and put themselves in a good position. So as we go to the game, as we get together with family and friends at parties or whatever, please use your noggin, and let's come back safely Monday to criticize the left again. Can somebody please tell me why they need to be convinced? Why old Zuckelberger, Huckleberry, whatever his name is, that clown that is socialist to the core, that moron that thinks it's okay to not hire Americans while his company is an American company, but hire foreigners? These work visas so that Americans are out of job. And by the way, that was a piece of what Barack Obama had to say. And if you pay attention, the narrative from the left is pretty consistent that these foreign workers aren't costing American jobs. There are only X amount of jobs in this country. And if you hand it to someone that is not of this country, then that job cannot go to someone who is an American. That seems like simple math to me because we have unemployment rates that are sky high. Those numbers are lies because they don't count people who have just given up. And if you look at the underemployed numbers, people who are more qualified than the job they work at or is forced to work a part-time job, they're sky high. But never mind any of that. But the government hopes that that guy who cares nothing about America except living here in the land of the free because somebody else died for him, and spending American dollars, that's all this guy cares about. He wants the benefits, but he doesn't want to pay the tab. He's going to cooperate? He's going to help shut down terrorists? Why would he do that? They're using his product. They're making him money. They're opening up new markets. He can now get into Libya and northern Iraq. It's a fantastic proposition for that guy. And I wish that guy'd come to Texas. I wish he'd come to Texas and have a beer with some of my buddies and start running his mouth like he does. We don't stand for it here. That anti-American, it's all about me, that leftist crap, it doesn't work here. I'll tell you that. And so I just found it incredibly interesting that, one, Twitter actually took the step. I'm proud of them. But if some's good, more's better in this situation. I hope they hear that. And I found it incredibly interesting that the government hopes, fingers crossed, that the other Silicon Valley institutions will jump on board, that those companies will cooperate and help in the fight against terrorism. Again, my boys here in Texas, point them in the right direction. They'll handle the terrorists, you know what I mean? But those guys out, those leftist communists, they have no interest. So It'll be interesting to see how that shapes up. I'll tell you right now how it ends. They're interested in making money. They're not interested in anything else. They're certainly not interested in preserving this country. So with that said, Johnny Manziel, speaking of guys who just don't have it together, who can't add 2 + 2, this guy, where to start? It happened right in our own backyard, and so I was privy to the local news reporting it. So Johnny and his girlfriend, and this is the same girlfriend that apparently there was a domestic dispute in Ohio, and she wouldn't press charges. Apparently, allegedly, he had struck her, and she didn't want to press charges, right? This is the same guy that he's just out of control. There's no two ways about it. He's out of control. He has bought into the big-time lifestyle, hook, line, and sinker. And so this weekend, him and his girlfriend go out to Hotel Zaza, which is it's a pretty upscale hotel in the uptown area of Dallas. And they get into it. They get into an altercation. And between there and driving to her apartment in Fort Worth, which is about 45 minutes away, she was struck a few times with an open hand in the ear, on or about the head. It was so severe that she still can't hear out of this ear. He broke her cell phone, and he threatened to kill her and himself, and then he took off when a neighbor called the police. And this isn't the first time old Johnny Football's had these issues. If you'll remember back at Texas A&M, as a freshman, he won the Heisman Trophy, and man, he bought in hook, line, and sinker, right? And then his sophomore year, he wasn't so awesome, and then he gets to the NFL, and he's not so awesome, but he's Johnny Football, so he's living it up. He's living the big life. He's all about it. And so he's bought into this theory, and so much so that he had to go to rehab. And he gets out of rehab, and he thinks he's going to turn it around. Well, in the matter of just a few days, his agent drops him. His agent wants nothing to do with him anymore. I don't know if the Browns have formally released him, but it's coming, and it's coming quick. And so things are going bad for Johnny, and what does he do? He turns right back to what he knows. Boozing it up, partying, numbing the pain, I guess. I don't know what this guy's problem is. But Dale Hansen, who is a legendary local sports anchor here for the ABC affiliate, has no problem speaking his mind ever in any situation. It's one of the things I like about Dale Hansen is you don't have to guess where this guy stands. And he comes out and basically says that Johnny is so self-absorbed that when all this ends, and it will, when they realize he can't play anymore and he can't pay anymore, people will stop caring. And he will be the guy at the end of the bar trying to figure out why nobody cares anymore. And how many of us don't know that guy? We all do. And I want to tie this back into another situation. And before I close the Johnny, his dad came out and said, look, I'm trying to talk him to go back into going back to rehab. I'm worried he's not going to make his next birthday if he doesn't. And how heartbreaking is that this culture promotes that we're all about trying to be a celebrity instead of a good person. And it's all about how much money you got and what clothes you're wearing and who you party with and who you're seen with and what you drive. It breaks my heart. And if you'll remember, we talked about the Greg Hardy thing when this show first came online, that this guy did all this and he was adjudicated and he deserves a second chance. And I believe that because that's what we want out of people who have messed up. We want them to apply their trade and become productive citizens, whatever that trade may be. I firmly believe that with all my heart. You hear these people screaming, oh, well, he shouldn't play for the Dallas Cowboys. He shouldn't do this. Well, what do you want from him? What I hear people saying is I want him to apply his trade, and I want him to be a productive citizen. Then let him do that. Let him go be that guy. And Greg Hardy's doing it. He slips up every now and then by running his mouth, but on the whole, he's done okay. That's what we want out of Johnny. We want him to right this ship. And I hope from the bottom of my heart that somebody can step in, somebody he trusts, because whoever's in his life, whoever's that person, it is their obligation. Because more than a football player, more than a knucklehead, more than just a guy screwing up, this is a person. And somebody needs to get a hold of him and explain to him what he's doing. Somebody he trusts, somebody he'll listen to, and walk him to rehab. And if that means they have to go to rehab with him, then so be it. I don't care how that goes down. but it's got to happen one way or the other. And so I hope that happens, because Johnny Manziel deserves a shot at life. And unfortunately, his talent has put him in a situation to make horrible, horrible decisions. And it can be remedied. It's not too late. And so I hope we don't give up on this kid just yet. Now, with that said, folks, we are going to take a quick break. On the other side, we are going to talk Marco Rubio and how he might have angered Breitbart. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Today's episode of The Gavin Mitchell Show is brought to you by Pinnacle Voice Studios and Sound Productions. Find us on the web at pinnaclevoice.com. We'll be back in a moment.
Hey, everybody, it's Chris Salcedo from the Blaze Radio Network. You are listening to The Gavin Mitchell Show.
All right, as promised, a little Marco Rubio and Breitbart. Like I said, I don't know what Marco Rubio did. I know this about Marco Rubio. I know there was some talk about him flip-flopping at the onset over immigration. And that was really about it. Other than that, he was the golden child, right? He was the outside guy. He was sounding great in the debates. And then out of nowhere, he just comes in Iowa and just wrecks shop. I mean, finishes a strong third, almost takes second place from Donald Trump. And what we thought was a two-person race between Trump and Cruz is now a three-person race, and it's very much a three-person race. So he comes out of nowhere and finishes a strong third, and now he's a viable candidate. And I don't know what he did to upset Breitbart, but he has. Because here's what happened. Rick Santorum dropped out of the race, right? We all know that. And he was on MSLSD, as Mark Levin likes to call it, and was asked the question, hey, you've now endorsed Rubio. You've endorsed him. He's your guy. You're going to ride with him. Can you name some of his accomplishments? What is it that you're supporting him for? What does this track record say? What is it that Marco Rubio can hang his hat on? And the quote out of this article, according on I didn't see the interview on MSLSD, but when the question was asked, you could hear crickets creaking in the background. And that's phenomenal to me. And I thought to myself, well, shoot, what are Rubio's accomplishments? And the only thing I could come up with were negatives. There was nothing really positive. I know he's absent a lot. I know he flipped on the immigration bill. I know that, or at least the immigration issue from what he campaigned on to and I know he was part of that Gang of Eight, right? That pushed through the amnesty bill in the Senate. And so I got to thinking, I can't really come up with anything here. This is, I'm concerned about this. And so I thought, well, shoot, I'm going to open up this article and see what it has to say. And this could not be more aggressive towards Marco Rubio. And Breitbart is a conservative publication. This is a conservative organization. And I guess because his Liberty score on conservative review, Rubio I'm speaking of, is like a 74, 76, 78, somewhere in there. It's a C at best. They're not interested in playing that game. They want a conservative, and this is no doubt a shot across the bow at Marco Rubio being a non-conservative. There's no two ways about it. That's what this is. This is a direct blow to Marco Rubio, and Breitbart has fired the shot. And so I want to kind of break this piece down because I'm fascinated by it. And once I got in there and researched it, man, they're right. They're right. And so now I'm left scratching my head about Marco Rubio because I thought he wasn't a bad choice. He wouldn't be a bad alternative. But this guy is, he calls it compromising. I'm calling it a moderate conservative at best, probably a moderate liberal. And let me build my case around this article. So Breitbart says, hey, the number one issue or the number one legacy that he leaves is the Gang of Eight bill, the Rubio-Schumer bill. And we all know about it. This is where Rubio flipped his promises from his campaign in Florida. He was elected to the Senate based on some promises, and then he got in there and he completely flipped. And he is part of this gang of 8. And by Rubio pushing this immigration bill, it tripled the issuance of green cards, doubled the dispensation of foreign worker visas, and granted citizenship and thereby welfare access and voting privileges to illegal immigrants. And the best part is a number of liberal publications came out, and I'm paraphrasing here, but said that gang of 8 bill wouldn't have passed the Senate if it wasn't for Rubio pushing it through. Rubio's the reason it got through. And I'm baffled by that, because here comes Senator Rand Paul, who, by the way, his Liberty score is 94%. And he said, hey, Marco and Schumer basically had a secret deal to block all amendments. That is stunning. Why would you block all amendments? Because if you remember, this is the whole issue where Ted Cruz got in there and tried to put in those amendments, argued what a great deal they were, and they were poison pills. But Rubio comes in, or Paul comes in and says, look, these two, Schumer and Marco, had a deal. They're not going to allow any amendments to this bill. And so Ted Cruz couldn't get his poison pill in. And so there was an amendment offered which would have required the completion of a double-layer border fence, another amendment that would require the implementation of an entry-exit tracking system. That way these foreign nationals, these people that came into the country, wouldn't stay too long, and all of them were shot down by Rubio and Schumer. So there's notch in the belt 1. Not looking so strong for Rubio, is it? And then we've heard all about it's the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and Breitbart's calling it Obama trade. We can't slap Obama in front of everything that gets done in his administration, or he's going to look like the world-class socialist and the Democratic hero for all time, and conservatives are just going to be stuck with this legacy forever. We got to quit calling things Obama something. That just needs to go. But Rubio on this TPP was, let me try to explain this. They had a vote, and basically, if 60 people vote for this this amendment, I guess is what we'll call it, this agreement to fast track this issue, then it effectively becomes filibuster proof. Okay, and that's very just on the surface. But Rubio cast the 60th vote, which fast tracked that agreement. So it became filibuster proof. And so this TPP ends up getting pushed through without filibuster. And in addition to it, according to Breitbart, the amendment process was thrown out the window. And the fact that it would be considered a constitutional treaty, which means it would need the approval of Congress, no longer. It can now be a deal. Remember, that's one of my beefs with the Iran deal, is it's not a deal, it's a treaty. The same thing happens here. But Rubio comes out and says, and he's endorsed this the whole time, that Obama's trade deal is his, quote, second pillar of a President Rubio's 3-pillar foreign policy strategy. This is a horrible deal. And if you listen to Donald Trump about anything, he knows business and he knows trade. And he talks about how we're getting shellacked. I'm going to use one of his words. We're getting schlonged with China. They're whipping us in foreign trade. And this is why, because of crackhead moves like this. So that's 2 that doesn't look awesome. The third issue Breitbart pulls out, blocking curves to Muslim immigration. And here's one that I'm furious about. I do not understand this at all. If you claim to be a conservative Republican, if you claim to be all about the Tea Party or even the least bit conservative, how in the world can you promote Muslim immigration when there is a danger out there? I don't know. But Rubio told Hannity, on Hannity's show, I guess, that he'd hate to block funding for Obama's refugees, and suggested that any curves on the Muslim migration would be unconstitutional. There's that word again, unconstitutional. I hate that I have to remind U.S. senators that the Constitution only applies to U.S. citizens. That makes no sense to me. This guy is running for the highest office in the land. He wants to lead the free world, and he doesn't even understand which documents are applicable and which aren't when we're dealing with foreigners and United States citizens. That's disgusting to me. But I'm so frustrated by this, that he wants the space he needed to wave in vast new groups of Muslim immigrants, Paul Ryan, that is, it was given to him. It was what's the word I'm looking for? I guess Rubio is doing what he can. He's pushing, he's supporting, and it gave Ryan the space he needed to get these Muslims in, because you'll remember when Ryan first took over, there was a surge of these Muslims. That's part of his deal. And he said, oh, it all landed in my lap. This is Boehner's deal. That's not true. That's not true at all. And Senator Paul made an amendment, or proposed an amendment, that would have suspended visa issuance to more than 30 Muslim countries where there's terrorists. We know there's terrorists. There's jihadist activities. Rand Paul was looking out for the country. And Marco Rubio was happy to fight that. And Paul Ryan and those guys just shot it down. And so here's the third notch in the belt. Marco Rubio's all for bringing the Muslims in. The record shows it. In fact, Breitbart says Rubio's been one of the most ardent champions for increasing Muslim migration. The U.S. admitted roughly 1.5 million migrants from Muslim countries since 9/11, and it's because of Rubio supporting this immigration bill that, and if it would have passed, it would have allowed an unlimited increase in Muslim migration. Now, that's awful harsh. That's awful straight through. But man, if that's true, and it appears to be based on my research, we're in trouble. Now, here's the part that I got a problem with. Point number 4 by Breitbart is enabling his corporate backers to replace Americans with foreign workers. And basically what happened is Marco supporting this H-1B visas, supporting the ratcheting that up. And that's for low-wage foreign workers. Disney decided to hire those guys and get rid of American workers. It was cheaper. But Disney made sure that the American workers trained these low-wage H-1B visa workers and then let them go after they had trained the people to replace them. And this happens right in Rubio's backyard. And Rubio could have stopped it, but he didn't. Breitbart goes on. He blocks food stamp reform. In 2011, there was a Republican proposal in Congress that it just wanted to alter how we issue it, that you don't just automatically qualify for categorically, you're not categorically eligible for food stamps is what I'm trying to say. That's a tongue twister for me. I'm sorry. But you don't just land out there and because you meet these check boxes, you get it, that you're vetted now. And it would have saved the U.S. government $10 billion, but he was opposed to that. Here's the kicker, and I'm going to close with this, ladies and gentlemen. Benghazi, from the onset, from the point that he was elected, Senator Rubio gave his, quote, enthusiastic support of the Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton intervention in Libya. He wanted to authorize the president's use of force in Libya. And what that is, that's for the removal of Gaddafi. And it was that vacuum, it was that lack of leadership in that country, it was the hole that was left by Gaddafi. Now, Gaddafi wasn't a good guy, conceded, agreed. But that hole is what ISIS filled. That's where ISIS came from. And George Will, great writer, not always conservative, not always liberal. He's very middle of the road kind of guy. I have a lot of respect for him, quite frankly. Wrote that Rubio supported this third adventure in regime change in the Muslim world since 9/11, perhaps on the principle that practice makes perfect. So they tried a few times to get rid of this guy. They tried a few times to shake up the world, and they couldn't get it done. But by getting rid of Gaddafi, it opened up the door for ISIS, and here we are now. I said I was going to close on that. That's not true. Rubio has missed more votes than any other senator this year. Breitbart claims his seat is regularly empty for floor votes, committee meetings, and intelligence briefings. He's MIA, is what they say. Contrastly, Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley for the full Grassley in Iowa, seeing all 99 counties in Iowa, has not missed a record vote in 22 years, 6 months, and 6 days. That's how you do it, folks. If you're going to be a senator and take the money, you show up and you do it. That's just how it is. But Marco Rubio seems to miss it. And my point to all this is, do a little research on who you're voting for, folks. Just figure it out. Do a little research. Make sure the guy you're voting for is the guy who is. And with that said, folks, I'm going to close today's show. Remember, in the words of the great Ray Wiley Hubbard, on the days I keep my gratitude higher than my expectations, well, I have really good days. Have a great Super Bowl weekend. We'll see you Monday. I'm Gavin Mitchell. This has been The Gavin Mitchell Show.
Thanks for listening to The Gavin Mitchell Show, the voice of the working man, produced in Fort Worth, Texas. If you like what you just heard, subscribe on iTunes and Spreaker.com. These and other links can be found on our website at thegavinmitchellshow.com. Be sure to tell your friends and colleagues about the Voice of the Working Man's daily podcast. Join us tomorrow for another edition of The Gavin Mitchell Show. All opinions expressed by the host or guests on this series are solely their opinions and do not reflect the views, policies, or positions of The Gavin Mitchell Show or its affiliates. This has been a Ron Phillips Pinnacle Voice Studios production.